Scott Wedgewood hangs tough as the Dallas Stars take 3 out of the possible 4 points on the weekend. Nils Lundkvist continues to step up in his return to the lineup, and we are still awaiting the return of Miro Heiskanen. So much to get into. Let's jump into it as we start off this week of Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer at 105 Through the Fan and play-by-play voice of the Chippewa Steel. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. The Dallas Stars fall in overtime to the New York Islanders last night by a final score of 3-2, but they take 3 out of the possible 4 points on the weekend. A great bounce back against New Jersey. They wallop the Devils 6-2, and they pick up some much needed points as they close in on the All-Star break. We need to touch on Nils Lundkvist as well today and how he's stepping up in the absence of Miro Heiskanen. Hopefully he can keep his spot when he returns. Speaking of Miro, there was some chatter about him joining the team on the road trip. We have yet to see that. Will he be in Detroit on Tuesday? Hopefully so. The Stars could use their number one defenseman back into the lineup. But so much good and positives moving forward about this Stars team. The new lines and the beat rolls on for the offense over the weekend as well. Hopefully you're having a wonderful Monday. Let's go ahead and jump right into business. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. I must address the Jake Oettinger situation because we all believed he was supposed to have the net last night in the second half of a back-to-back with Wedgewood going on Saturday against New Jersey. He was suited up as a backup, so in theory, if Wedgewood went down, he would have been able to take the net in relief, but we found out about an hour before puck drop in Long Island that Wedgewood was going to be in between the pipes. So nothing leads me to believe it has to do with an injury. Maybe he was sick. I know that was thrown out there because Marchment was out with an illness the day before. Maybe Otter was just a bit under the weather. Either way, Scott Wedgewood has been phenomenal this season. I say it constantly. If you're an everydayer, you hear me talk about it. Scott Wedgewood keeps the Stars in every game, and he's been a real stable presence in between the pipes. He was great in New Jersey, made 29 saves, made 24 last night in New York, and some of them were dandies when the Stars were a bit leaky in front of him, especially on second chance opportunities. The Stars didn't box out all that well. It's a damn shame they didn't pick up the extra point too. They outplayed the Islanders. Sorokin was just one shot better than Wedgewood last night. He ends up making 41 saves. He was busy. The Stars threw everything they could at him. Sorokin sees a ton of shots this season. It's one of the reasons they fired their head coach, and Patrick Waugh made his debut last night as the bench boss, and they pick up the overtime winner with Bo Horvat ending it on a beautiful backhand. I didn't love the Duchesne move, trying to take on Barzal and then try to go 1-on-2 essentially and then beat Sorokin in overtime. But the points all mute at the end of the day. Stars played well enough and they got a point. At the end of a back-to-back, they were fatigued. They found a way to push it to overtime, and now they have 60 points here on the season as they continue to try to keep pace in the Central Division. But a great night for Wedgewood and a great weekend. Man, he's just been so good. His numbers as well are starting to come down with the return of Otter because he's getting rest. 2.98 goals against average, .899 save percentage, and 13 wins. Him and Otter are such a great tandem when they're both healthy. And Wedgewood just, he battles, right? He battles, and he's so competitive. And it kind of embodies the Stars' ability to respond. Coming off a game where you were dominated in Philadelphia, which we touched on Friday, and then you come into a game against New Jersey, who of course is on the outside looking into a playoff spot, and you go in there and you just hammer them with great goaltending, great team defense. The Stars offense continues to obliterate defenses. Man, this Robo, Hintz, and Johnston line is so fun to watch. They're just buzzing around. It's a human highlight reel when that trio's out and they're making things happen. They're penalty killing at an elite level. Roope Hintz with his 11th shorthanded goal in his career. It's such a great sign when Roope is killing penalties. He's at full flight, already has 20 goals on the season. The Stars offense, the beat goes on for them. And man, they're going to be so fun to watch for years to come. I hope Pete DeBoer keeps that line together. That trio is so good. They're just so creative, and they all find ways to find space and make plays for each other. It's not an overly physical line, but Johnston is so good at working in on the forecheck and causing turnovers, using the size he does have and manipulating defenders to stripping them of the puck. And then, of course, he's such a great facilitator. The floodgates are bound to open. He now has a few goals here in the past 5 games, so he's starting to get out of that slump he had there for about 20 games. Robertson scores a beauty yesterday. And just the Stars' ability to respond after losses is such a great sign moving forward. I love that about them. Jake Oettinger's another one. Following a loss, he's almost unbeatable. That was a statistic that was thrown around throughout the playoffs last spring. If Otter gets beat the next day, more than likely he's going to be spectacular, and it's going to be really tough to beat the Dallas Stars on that night. And they did that against New Jersey. They go into New York. They were down a goal. They battled back to take the lead. Unfortunately, New York got a nice healthy bounce off of Fasching to end up behind Wedgewood to tie the game. But they played so well on the weekend. That was what was really encouraging, because this road trip is big for them. Yeah, it's only 4 games, but they need to pick up points where they can. Overtime just did not go quite to plan, unfortunately, but they take 3 out of the possible 4 points. Well, I think there's a lot of positives moving forward, especially with this forward group. They continue to just grind out contests. It's been a busy month of January. 7 games in like 11 days. They played 5 and 8 a few weeks ago, and they're playing good opponents, right? And opponents that are trying to make pushes to at least think about making the playoffs, and they've done well at beating teams they should, which is a great sign too. Like New Jersey had been without Hughes or without Hamilton. They're losing so many man games. They go in there and they just bury them. New York, of course, the season's gone a bit backwards for them, but they have a number 1 netminder. He's one of the best in the National Hockey League, and he certainly proved it last night. The Stars could have easily had 5. I mean, Duchesne rips the pipe right off the hop. Ben rips the pipe in the 3rd. Harley had a couple of great looks. Robertson could have had 2. I mean, they were all over the place, but nice to see Nils Lundkvist get his 2nd of the season on a nice blast. It looked like Sorokin saw it a bit late, and it snuck through him. But Robertson ended up with the highest game score almost by a full point, 3.38. This is via Hockey Stat Cards. Robertson was all over the ice making things happen. Pavelski with 2 assists on the night. I mentioned him as a shooting star on the weekend. Veterans just find a way to pull teams out of maybe not so good play or a little bit of a slump. And it just felt like he was going to have a big weekend. He does. It, of course, starts off the scoring on the power play in New Jersey, but 3 points in the last 2 games for Mr. Pavelski. The beat goes on for him. I really like that line of Sam Steele and Ben. That trio is really fun. Steele is kind of the driving force behind the trio. He uses his speed. He is so heavy on the forecheck, and he just makes things happen too. I love Sam Steele so much. For him to come in the offseason and just establish himself as an everyday player, and now he's getting the opportunity to not play on the fourth line. He's playing with Pavelski and Ben. I would call that a promotion, and he is certainly making the most of it. Picks up an assist on the Lundkvist goal yesterday. So Sam Steele's been great. Ben's been really good too, making things happen. Sometimes I think he holds on to the puck a bit long and should make a play faster. But that's me nitpicking Mr. Jamie Benn. But the Stars are in a great spot. Still 4 points behind the division leaders. Winnipeg has a couple of games in hand, but Dallas is they're stumbling, not even stumbling. They're just barreling their way towards the All-Star break. They need a nice week off, a chance to reset. They've played a lot of hockey here in the month of January, and it's been really up and down, this roller coaster in the month of January alone, even heading into December with Otter going down. We thought Wedgewood may have been out for a lot longer than I had anticipated. It ended up only being a few days, thankfully. So Miro went down at the beginning of January, and the Stars are finding a way to pick up points. The offense has been great. When Miro gets back, this team defense should hopefully sort itself out. Defense, Nils Lundkvist had a huge opportunity in the month of January with Miro going out. The Stars had no other options. He had to jump up into the lineup, and Lundkvist has been making the most out of his opportunity. Let's highlight him in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy and is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from supercharges, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Hey, Stars fans, be sure to check out the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on Locked On. It is covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. So go over there, hit subscribe on the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Be sure to subscribe to Locked On Stars as well. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Never miss an episode of Locked On Stars. Hit that notification bell, and shout out to all you everydayers. Nils Lundkvist, man, he has really elevated his play since returning to the lineup here this month. I've loved his game. He has a sense of confidence about him too. And every once in a while, he'll get out muscled. Look, he's not the biggest guy, and sometimes he'll get turned around and he'll lose a board battle and something doesn't go his way, right? But he's been able to find such a great balance now. And I think it's the confidence that exudes out of him to be able to embrace contact and make the right play, making the right decisions. He's been paired up with Suter too, which comes with its own sort of challenges every once in a while. Suter can make some very curious plays. Look, he absolutely can. So Lundkvist has to step up and sometimes, be the factor that can help support Suter. And I really loved his play. He just looks like he's using his body better and using his body positioning to really negate his size, so to speak, and then make the right plays. And what he did so well yesterday was jumping up in the play, using his legs. He can help the Stars that way. He doesn't need to be as tentative and always be returning to defensive posture. And his ability to jump up in the play and get shots away. He was so good and just firing the puck on net against the Islanders. I have to take a look at how many shots he ended up with, but man, the puck was on his stick and he's firing it. He ended up with 4 shots on goal. That is phenomenal for a defenseman. He has 13 points on the season here in 35 games. Yes, he just has a point in his last 5 with that goal yesterday, but it's not just his overall offensive play and him being productive. It's him being a full 200-foot player. He is so much better on the rush. I think it's just the quiet confidence and maybe being healthy scratched out, what was it, probably 15 out of like 20 games at some point, allowed him to step back, reassess his game, watch the game from a bird's eye view, so to speak, and then, jump back into the lineup and seize the moment. He's really seizing the moment. I would love for him to be an everyday player once Miro returns. As much as I will support Joel Hanley and what he's done, Joel Hanley just does not have the upside that Nils does. Like Joel Hanley, his upside is what it is. Like Hanley is what he is at this point in his career. There's not really much improvement you're going to get from a Joel Hanley. Lundkvist is under 25, and was a former first-round pick. He can continue to improve and maybe get somewhere in the class of a Thomas Harley. I don't believe that's his ceiling, but yeah, I think he can be maybe a top 4 pairing defenseman. I don't know if he's going to be your top pairing, but I think he can crack the top 4. And I've made it known too, I'm not the highest on Nils and thinking he's going to be Miro Heiskanen or anything. And maybe the Stars need to look elsewhere for options, but I don't think it's a reason to give up on a 23-year-old that's, still learning to play the game at the National Hockey League level. Like he's still extremely young. And he hasn't even played 2 full seasons worth of games. In 35 games this season, has a +6. He's making things happen. I think when he's on the ice, even with Suter, they seem to be connected well, and they're just making plays. Part of it is just his patience. You would see last season a ton. He would flip the puck into bad areas, and if he wasn't so sure, he kind of just pass the problem along, so to speak, and cause turnovers that way. But he's more poised with the puck now, where he's starting to carry it out of his own zone and then making a play, finding an outlet pass and jumping up on the rush to help add another layer of offense. And I think the Stars can really, really benefit to Nils Lundkvist just having an elevated role on this team. It did not quite go the way they would have liked in the first 25 games or so when he had a chance on the power play, only had 1 power play assist. So yeah, they would like him to be a bit more productive in some areas. I don't think they're going to give him a power play role, so to speak, or be on the PK much, which would be kind of the next step. Unfortunately, as I've said many times too, the Stars cannot wait for him to get to that play or wait for him to develop into someone that deserves a ton of PK minutes or is on that second power play unit. They just don't really have that luxury at this point in the season when they're trying to make a push to become the number 1 seed, win the division, have home ice advantage, and get into the playoffs. Because you can't worry about that when it's time to dance. You can't worry about, you have to give him a chance to play to prove himself. But he's proving himself right now. proving himself right now. I've really, really liked his play. We'll see what happens when Miro gets back. If DeBoer wants to keep him in the lineup, I think he's earned some extra time. There's been a few odd man rushes lately too. He's just played to perfection. He's played to perfection a few times, taking the pass away, letting Otter or Wedgewood have the shot. And for what he makes up or lacks in size, so to speak, I think he's been a real cerebral player, a real highly intelligent defenseman making things happen. I think that's great. And at 23 years old, he's only played 120 games in the National Hockey League. Maybe it's starting to click for him, right? Maybe it's starting to click. And he has improved from last season. I think it's been a much, much bigger jump. He's played about half of the games he did last year, and he's got 13 points. He had 16 all of last season, but he's a bump up in plus minus. He was -5 last year. He's at +6, and I understand that doesn't tell the whole story, but it is a bit of a snapshot. He hasn't been taking as many penalties either defending, which is a great sign, and something he had done for a stretch when he was being healthy scratched. So he's staying out of the box, and he's making plays, winning plays to help the Stars win. And I love that. I love that for Nils Lundkvist. And look, I've have stated multiple times, look, I don't know if Nils Lundkvist is going to be the answer for the Stars team or get to where they think he needs to be, but a young guy making the most out of his opportunity. And I think Pete DeBoer and the coaching staff has to be thrilled with that. Okay, let's segue in to Miro Heiskanen. There was chatter about him joining the Stars on the road trip. Has yet to happen. What's going on with Mr. Miro? And could he be ready in Detroit tomorrow? We'll touch on that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs is in full swing, and there's still time to get in on the action, Stars fan. With FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The Super Bowl is right around the corner. The championship games are set. The Detroit Lions made a NFC championship game before the Cowboys did in my lifetime. Absolutely horrifying to say, but they're taking on the San Francisco 49ers. A big win for the Kansas City Chiefs in Buffalo last night. They will take on Baltimore. Very intriguing championship series in the NFL. I guess it's not really series, championship game, since it's win or go home. And that's what's so awesome about football. It's that do or die scenario. Go ahead, win some money taking in the championship games this season. Live same game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab on FanDuel. $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. So Miro Heiskanen has not joined the Dallas Stars on this road trip. It was stated before the Stars headed to Philadelphia that he may, I guess it wasn't for certain. I took it as for certain he was going to join the, the Stars on the road trip. And maybe that's my fault. I should never take anything for certain, especially in the National Hockey League. But of course, he went down with a lower body injury on January 4th in that game against Colorado. Maybe he'll be with them tomorrow in Detroit. That would be very, very intriguing. But he has been skating and he has been practicing, which is a good sign. And of course, when he comes back, he's going to bring the total package. Phenomenal defensive play. The Stars pairings can get back in order. Of course, you have someone that dominates ice time, has been playing the most ice time this season. Now it's Thomas Harley, who has been great as well, pretty much assuming the role of number one defenseman. It'll be nice to have him back on the power play too, even though the power play hasn't necessarily been terrible. They don't get on the job much, but they've been actually pretty decent as of late. They went 0 for 3 yesterday, but wasn't really the problem. They were snapping the puck around. Sorokin, just, my God, was unworldly. I thought the Stars weren't even going to score, so it was probably a miracle they got 2 against them. But probably a good sign that Miro will be ready come the final homestand before the All-Star break, which would be absolutely phenomenal if he is. So the Stars play Detroit on Tuesday, but then they'll be back home on Thursday and Saturday against the Ducks in Capitals. Maybe they just want to hold off with him and just have him stay home and be fully rested for a game against Thursday against Anaheim, which would probably be a bit better of an introductory back into the lineup and playing in a full pace National Hockey League game with the Ducks, not being the best of teams. And that's certainly no slight, but an interesting statistic that I took in from the broadcast on Bally too was the Stars against non-playoff teams, because it felt like last year they really struggled against even the bottom feeders of the NHL, and they're 17-3-4, I think it was, or maybe it was 17-3-1 against non-playoff teams this season. So that is a fantastic number. They've been really good at home in the last month. And they've been really good on the road. Their statistics between their home and road splits are really not that different, which is good, right? I think it's great that the game can travel. And last year they had 1 more road games than they did home, which was a bit odd for how locked down the Stars have been at the American Airlines Center. They're still finding themselves in these situations where they kind of have to flip the switch sometimes. You do get those moments against New Jersey or against LA where it's like wire to wire, they're dominating. You're like, okay, this is a Stanley Cup team. Like, this team can play with anybody. And then you get some games like Philadelphia, which I chalk up as a stinker, or more importantly, a game like Colorado. Both of those games this season where you get out to leads and then a snap of a finger, you're down and you're reeling. It's like, why can't you close out? like figure out a way to bury a team, a good one. That's a team that you're thinking you're going to have to probably beat come playoff time to get where you want to go. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's the regular season, but sometimes you want to see those signs. Look, they've shown they can play from behind. They've shown they can respond after a loss. They handle adversity really well, what I would expect from a veteran crew. And all things considered, I think when we step back in a few months to assess the season as well, this stretch of December 15th to like the All-Star break, you're going to be like, they really handled their business with Otter going down, Miro going down. It's kind of been topsy-turvy, and they figured out a way. And that's with their defense not being the strong suit of their play, because their offense can get up and score, which makes for entertaining hockey. I will give you that. They can score at a high clip, and it is certainly fun to watch with Duchesne and Sagan. Man, I mean, just depth, right? Just depth. It's been a topic for years about the Dallas Stars. Where is your depth? Where is your depth? It's always kind of a one line. They'll make a trade and they get a piece like a Domi or even a Patrick Sharp, but it really never culminated in something like this. Like, they have 4 lines that can play. And I think DeBoer, his systems and the Star structure is really, really like in full flight this season. It is foolproof right in front of you. And Pete DeBoer's second season as a Stars head coach. I think it's really, really shown. They need to clean up defensively, though. I mean, plain and simple, if they want to win a Stanley Cup. They need to clean it up. Miro Heiskanen will certainly help with that. And hopefully he'll be back with the team. Very soon. Cannot wait for number 4 to jump back in and get things going. What a weekend of hockey. It had been a very busy weekend for myself. My dad was in town, which was great. I was able to hang out with me while I was calling a couple of games. Results did not quite go the way I would have liked for my team, but the Stars played well. The Stars did play well. 3 out of the possible 4 points. They've taken 3 out of 6. Let's take 5 out of 8. Just bulldoze Detroit, and we can talk about what a wonderful road trip it was, right? Tomorrow. So I hope you enjoy your Monday, another start to the week. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Never miss an episode of Locked On Stars. Shout out to all you everydayers. You can follow me on the Twitter thing at Joey the Jet 19. Be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today as well, the first ever national 24/7 streaming channel covering all the top sports stories in the world. Subscribe to them. Subscribe to Locked On Stars. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, and we will see you tomorrow for another episode. So long, Stars fans.